Can you believe it? We have just witnessed a landmark day in the Premier League title race. That was, undoubtedly, a delectable medley of footballing splendour, and there is so much that we need to get stuck into. There is so much that we need to get our teeth into. There is so much for us to explore. Pep Guardiola, what a man on his 1,000th game in management. Over 500 of those games have been at Manchester City. Over half of Pep Guardiola's managerial career have occurred at Manchester City. And not many of the victories will be much sweeter than what we just saw. That was perfect. They didn't win the game. They didn't beat the champions. They demolished the champions. Liverpool, we will come on to. We have to focus on Liverpool. We have to focus on what we saw. But I'm almost speechless with regard to Liverpool. They were so far off it, so far short of it, so poor, lost all of their individual battles, and ultimately they are a team. I mean, I was about to say they're a team that cannot win the league, but I don't know if it's quite as drastic as that, but they are a team who are about as far away from winning the league as I could possibly fathom that they could be. However, on the other side of it, I mean, Guardiola's achievement, Guardiola's record, like he's only 54 years old, Guardiola. Like he's got another 10 years at the very least, at the peak of his powers. It was truly brilliant. Like the style that they played with Manchester City, the verve that they played with, the freedom that they played with. I mean, in Jeremy Doku, Manchester City had a player who a lot of City fans will openly admit they weren't sure about. A lot of City fans were even saying that they could live in a world where he wasn't in their team anymore. Suddenly, in Jeremy Doku, they have one of the best players in the league. They have one of the form players in the league. They have a player who was totally and utterly unplayable. He was man of the match even before he scored that worldie. Even before that, he could have gone off the pitch on 60 minutes and he would have still been the best player on the pitch. Man of the match, no doubt. And Jeremy Doku deserves nothing but credit. Of course he does. We could talk about Doku. We could talk about his application. We could talk about his determination. We could talk about his desire. And we should do all of those things. Jeremy Doku deserves so much praise. But so too does Pep Guardiola for persisting with Doku. I mean, a lot of Man City fans were saying that they would have rather kept Grealish than keep Jeremy Doku. A lot were saying that Savinho is a better option. A lot were saying that Jeremy Doku could easily be surplus to requirements. And suddenly he has put in a performance just like that. It was absolutely perfect. It really was a perfect performance from him. And Doku deserves so much credit. But Guardiola, for identifying the talent, for identifying that raw potential, for identifying that the player did lurk within, and for helping him find that form. Like, it was a battering, wasn't it? To win 3-0 against the champions is a battering. To win 3-0 against the champions when you miss a penalty is a statement. And ultimately, they blew Liverpool away. It was a total and utter demolition job. And I tell you what, Guardiola, in this form, you know, there was a moment towards the end of the game, and I'm sure you'd have seen it. Guardiola, towards the end of the game, came on the pitch, and this is on the full-time whistle, in fact, came on the pitch and he was celebrating and he was like high-fiving and he was like chasing Phil Foden. He tapped Phil Foden on the back of the head and sort of hid. There was like a nice moment between the two. And do you know what he looked like? He looked like a kid. Like, Pep Guardiola's 54 years old. He's managed 1,000 times. And he looked happy. He looked young. He looked hungry. He looked determined. He looked calm. And ultimately, he looked like a young manager. A young manager at the peak of his powers, loving his football, overseeing a team who has an abundance of talent. And this is Pep Guardiola 4.0 at City. This is like the fourth team that he is building there. And I tell you what, Guardiola in this form should worry Arsenal. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that Arsenal should be really arrogant about this. Arsenal should be really, really arrogant about this title race. Arsenal should not be scared at all. The first super chat of the day has landed, by the way, is from Drin. Drin says, Rory, brother, please, 7 losses in 10 games, no title race, stop it. That's with regard to Liverpool. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you are probably right. I don't feel ready to say that just because I do still believe that this Liverpool team are capable of doing something unbelievable. Like, maybe after Christmas, if Salah finds form and Wirtz finds his feet and Isak gets fit. But no, even saying the words, it sounds hollow. I know. I think you're probably right. Maybe you are correct. Maybe it is a 2-horse race. Maybe you are right. Could I ask you a massive favour, by the way? Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Would you please do me a massive favour and just give this stream a like? It really helps me out. If you would be kind enough to just click like, really does help me out. Thank you very much. But with regard to what we were talking about there, Guardiola looking young, looking hungry, looking up for it. It should intimidate. It should intimidate the rest of the league. Now, Arsenal's response to that intimidation should be, shut up, we've built up a cushion. The reason that we've built up a cushion is for this precise reason. We are the team that were breaking records. We are the team that were being compared to Chelsea's 15 goals conceded in 05. We are the team that were being compared to the Arsenal Invincibles. We are the team that sits top of the league. We are the team who people were scared of. And we are the team that didn't drop any points for well over a month. So I think that Arsenal's response to this should be one of arrogance, one of belief. But my God, Guardiola, there was this moment where you could kind of see, you know that opening goal when Haaland scored. You could just see that it was the kind of goal that inspires Pep Guardiola, like the movement involved, the work rate involved, the determination involved, and the silk involved, like the pure perfection of football that was involved in that goal, the craft, the silk. It was exactly what Pep Guardiola wants. Like it's on some definition like total football, isn't it? It's total football. It's Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten. It's football in its purest form. Like, there is no doubt, if you watch that Erling Haaland goal for Man City today, Johan Cruyff, if he could watch that goal, Johan Cruyff would applaud it. And I think that is inspiring to Pep Guardiola. I think he knows what he's watching. And at the end of the game, like I say, his joy was there, man, playing on the pitch, like mucking about on the pitch. You know, last year when we saw Guardiola, we saw moments where he looked, and he does have moments. Like, remember the Happy Flowers moment and all that. But this team are re-energised. And as a result, Pep Guardiola is re-energised. And an energised Pep Guardiola can never, ever, ever be disregarded. Going back into the super chat here, it's V. Aaron who says, I felt the disallowed goal dropped Liverpool's mentality. Is Michael Oliver helping Manchester City yet again? It's very questionable, but the right team won. Now, with regard to that goal, I haven't seen it with any commentary. I haven't seen any reports about it. But the way that I felt about it, Aaron, the blame doesn't lie with anyone other than Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson doesn't need to be stood there. That goal goes in whether Andy Robertson is there or not. Andy Robertson did nothing to help his team score a goal. He only hindered his team. Like, two Donnarummas do not save that. It was an impossible goal to save. It was the most perfect bullet header, sending it back where it came from into the opposite corner. Two keepers don't save it. And Donnarumma's eye line wasn't affected by Andy Robertson at all. So why is he there? He did nothing apart from cost his team a goal today. Like, Andy Robertson doesn't need to be there. The point is, anyone that's played football at any level, even our level, you clear out, don't you? You leave people offside. The second that the ball goes out, you will get out, hopefully leave someone offside. You know, George Graham at Arsenal won leagues doing that. Arsenal step up, hand in the air. Step up, hand in the air. It's like the obvious thing to do. Andy Robertson is the defender. Why didn't he see the Man City line push up and he stood there? It's ridiculous. Like, he doesn't need to be there. He doesn't need to be stood there. He is only going to cause his team a problem. And it was poor from him. Like, I disagree with your super chat, Aaron. You know, your focus on Michael Oliver, I think your focus should be a little bit closer to home. But let me know what you think about that, Aaron. Let me know your thoughts. I love this. This is why I love the conversation. You know, I buzzed to get back to chat to you, chat to the subscribers of this channel, and have this to and fro. Let's flex our analytical football muscle and delve into it. Who is responsible for that moment? I think Virgil van Dijk did everything right. He battered Donnarumma in that moment, and like I say, two Donnarummas do not save that header. It is destined for the goal, no matter what. The only person who can do anything wrong there is Andy Robertson, who effectively pressed the self-destruct button. Poor from him. The fat monster in the super chat says, surely Manchester City are favourites now. No, I don't think they're favourites. Surely Manchester City are favourites now. City really shifted gears every title-winning campaign in February. Also, can't believe Miles compared Cazorla to Bernardo Silva. Outrageous, even from an Arsenal fan's standard. Fat Monster, thank you very much for your super chat. Let's take this one at a time. Are Man City favourites? No, I don't think they are. Arsenal, until yesterday, we're the best team in the country. You know, everybody's talking about Arsenal being favourites for the Premier League, being favourites for the European Cup, being the best team in the country, breaking record after record, not even conceding shots on target, let alone goals. We were talking about Arsenal conceding shots, not Arsenal conceding goals. It was a new level that Arsenal reached, and they are still favourites. Now, have Manchester City changed the standings a touch? Yeah, they have. Manchester City beating the champions, does that have an impact? Absolutely. But I still believe that it's Arsenal's to lose. Arsenal are top of the league. They're top of the league for a reason. The reason that you go top of the league is because you build up a cushion for a reason. And now this is very important. Why on earth would it have changed? So we saw Man City beat Liverpool. Fair play. Arsenal got a point at Sunderland. Now, we all need to stop being ridiculous. A point at Sunderland is a good point. A point at Sunderland, there is nothing wrong with that point. The circumstances of it, slightly deflating. The circumstances of it for Arsenal will feel like 2 points drop. But there is no doubt in my mind that it's a good point. You cannot win every single game. You cannot pick up points, maximum points, every single week. There will be moments. And going to Sunderland in November for a night game under the lights against a really good Sunderland team, a Sunderland team who do not concede goals, by the way, it's always going to be difficult. So I don't think that Manchester City are yet favourites. With regard to that Santi Cazorla, Bernardo Silva conversation, Fat Monster, I'm glad and I appreciate your validation, because I was arguing and I felt like I was losing the argument. But in my head, Bernardo Silva and Santi Cazorla are leaps and bounds apart. Santi Cazorla, a beautiful footballer, incredibly gifted. The way that he could shift the ball from one foot to the other, incredibly languid, had a great eye for a pass and a great eye for a goal. Wonderful, wonderful dribbler, excellent player. But his levels to the game, and Bernardo Silva is different. Bernardo Silva is one of the best players who've ever played in the Premier League. And he's still doing it now. Do you know how good you have to be to play for Pep Guardiola for about a decade? Every year winning the league. 4 leagues in a row. Centurion season. Treble winning season. Domestic treble. Bernardo Silva is just an icon. And I don't think him and Cazorla can be compared at all. Thank you very much, though, the Fat Monster. Really do appreciate you watching. Can I ask you all a massive favour? Because I thoroughly love doing these. Can you just like the stream? Can we nudge that like tally to 14 likes? Oh, man. Can we get it to 100? Maybe that's too optimistic. If anyone could like the stream, it really does help me out. Thank you very much. Going now for Abdullah Abu Hussein, who says, City going on a pep run together. Arsenal are welcoming 3 strikers, Madueke and Odegaard, back. No more breaks. Pep versus Arteta. The title race is on. And I am buzzing for it. You have said it so well there. City going on a pep run. I wonder if they will. I mean, everybody says that, don't they? Everybody seems to say that Manchester City start their title charge. Manchester City have a tendency to start their title charge January the 1st. I remember they beat Arsenal. Do you remember when they beat Arsenal on the 1st of January? I remember it. Like it was yesterday. Rodri. That was the start of their title winning campaign. Like, that is how it happens, apparently. That is where it starts. If you're a Man City fan, if you're a Man City player, if you play for Pep Guardiola. Be in touching distance at Christmas, turn of the year, it's game on. Now, if that ends up being true, Arsenal could well be in trouble. But this Arsenal team are different. This Arsenal team are resilient. This Arsenal team are fighters. This Arsenal team have quality. So you could be right, Abdullah. You could be right. Arsenal are welcoming players back. No more breaks. Pep versus Arteta. The title race is on. This is going to be spectacular, you know that. I'm buzzing. Like, the season is about to... Like, it feels like the touch paper has been lit. The spark is ignited. Drin in the Super Chat says, Mohamed Salah is going to AFCON. It's going to be time for Isak and Ekitike. Maybe they go 2 up front. Maybe they have to go 2 up front. Something's got to change. Like, I think Florian Wirtz needs to be dropped. I think they need Curtis Jones starting games. Excuse me. I think they need Curtis Jones starting games of football. They need that control. But no, they are in trouble. And where they go from here, I do not know. Jonathan Hadidin. Cool name. City shocked me today. The title race on. It's about the games against Villa, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Palace. And I trust Arsenal more. So Jonathan believes that in those games, in those fixtures, against the more upper mid-table teams, he thinks Arsenal are more likely to be professional in those games than Manchester City. Now, I would contest that. I think that in those games, Arsenal have signed players to be excellent in those games. I think Mikel Arteta identified a weakness in his Arsenal team last year, that they couldn't get past the likes of Fulham, that the likes of Palace and Brighton and Bournemouth over the years have given them problems. And he went out and signed players that is clinically proven to beat those teams. Eberechi Eze, for example, is clinically proven against that sort of an opposition. Victor Gyökeres is the exact striker that should be shining against that sort of opposition. So they're the kind of fixtures that I think both Arsenal and Man City are going to be fine in. I think the league won't be won in those fixtures, though, Jonathan. I think the league will be won in the mini head-to-head. So Arsenal and Manchester City have played one, drawn one. I think it will actually come down to whoever wins when they play at the Etihad. If they draw, Arsenal win the league. If City beat them, City win the league. I think that will be the indicator. It won't be the deciding day. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that whoever comes out in the mini head-to-head, in the mini league of three, the top three, whoever generally wins the mini league wins the league. And I know Arsenal won it last year and didn't, but that was an anomaly. Generally speaking, whoever wins the mini league of teams, and that's applicable to everyone, whoever wins the mini league of the 4 teams that could be relegated will survive. Whoever wins the mini league of the teams that could win the league will progress. Whoever wins the mini league of the teams that could qualify for the Europa League will get what they want. I really do think that it is that simple. Because I rate them both against the also-rans. I think both Manchester City and Arsenal will make quite light work of Newcastle and Villa and whoever else. That is how I see that one going. Interesting point, though, Jonathan. George Gooner says, the only way we win the title this year, George Gooner is obviously an Arsenal fan, the only way that we win the title this year is if we won the league, Cup. Unless getting some winning mentality, I can see us getting chased down against the big blue shark. We looked nervous yesterday. Interesting point there, George. Very interesting point. There are 2 ways of looking at this, and I think I agree with you, but there is another angle. Let me present you 2 cases. Let's see what everyone thinks to this. I'm inclined to say that Arsenal, and look, anyone who watches this channel regularly will know that I'm not ever sneery towards silverware, domestic silverware. I love it. I'd love Chelsea to win the League Cup. I celebrate the League Cup. I rate it. I think it's significant. I think it's a wonderful trophy. I think it's got wonderful history. And I think it's a great trophy to win. A day out at Wembley, making history. Yes, please sign me up. However, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you're right. Winning that trophy will mean that you're more likely to win the league. Winning that trophy, it's infectious. Winning silverware breeds more desire to win silverware. Winning silverware, you get greedy. You want to taste it again. And there is a correlation. The team that wins the League Cup quite often goes on to win the league. Jose Mourinho's first trophy in English football, the League Cup, we won the league that year. Manchester City made a habit, winning the League Cup, win the league title. I'm going to say something now, which I don't think I've ever said before. I don't think Arsenal should compete in it. I think that Arsenal, the best thing that could happen to Arsenal to win the league is to get out of the League Cup. Now, let me explain why, and you can tell me why I'm wrong. I think that Arsenal just need to fully focus. The last thing that Arsenal need is the issue of having to deal with a domestic League Cup campaign. Like, you will be playing more and more fixtures, you'll be getting more and more grief, you'll be getting more and more aggravation, then you'll have some really tough games. Think about what happens. Imagine in the semi-final, doesn't have to be a particularly difficult team, you could come up against Chelsea, right? Newcastle. You've got to go to St James's Park, home and away. You've got to go to play Newcastle, home and away, on a Thursday night. What impact does that have on your domestic league campaign? You've got to play Chelsea. You've got to go to Stamford Bridge on a Thursday, and then you've got to go to Stamford Bridge on a Thursday, and then you've got to play Brentford away on a Sunday. What impact does that have? Then you've got to play a final. Who's the final against? Suddenly you're playing Man City. Or suddenly you're playing Liverpool in a final. Right? You're playing Liverpool in a final. And then what happens? Then Man City play in the league, they win. They go ahead of you because they played a game more. So it's symbolic, they're ahead of you. Then you lose the League Cup final. So what? Then you win the League Cup final. Really, is it worth it? I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure that That is the way to go. But it's very rare that I say that. It's very, very rare that I say that. And Danny McNamara, I appreciate it. Liverpool are out. Not Liverpool. But you know what I mean. You're playing Chelsea. You're playing Newcastle. So no, I do think that it's ultimately best avoided. Arsenal can fully focus and should fully focus on the Premier League because that is a trophy they need. That is a trophy that will make the difference. And of course, the European Cup. Everything else is decoration. And Man City are going to take the cup seriously. So it could benefit you. Get out the cups, focus on the league. Suddenly it's Man City that have to go away to Stamford Bridge in a semi-final. Even if they win, it's ag. Then you're playing in the league. You win in the league. They're playing a League Cup final. They go to extra time in a League Cup final. Then they're playing away from home in Europe. They go League Cup final, Real Madrid away. It's hard. It's a domestic slog, man. And then you'd marry that up with a European slog. I don't think you need it. I really do not think that you need that. So I'm going to say something that I've never said before, George. I think they need to get out of it. V. Aaron says, it doesn't matter where Robbo was in the letter of the law stated by the Premier League and the PGMOL, it's a goal. Michael Oliver ignored the rules to favour City. Why? He's clearly in... Oh, look, mate, it sounds like I haven't read anything, right? I've come from watching the game to talking to you, and I've seen nothing. I've read no reports. If you're telling me that the PGMOL have come out and said they've made a mistake, then fine. But from my understanding of the game, Andy Robertson is standing directly in front of the keeper and he ducks out the way of the ball. You cannot do that. You cannot be there. Whether you impact the ball or not, it's a distracting presence for the keeper. Like, we know that the keeper's not saving it. We know that Robertson doesn't block his eye line. But there is absolutely no way that he can stand there. Your presence on the football pitch is a distraction for the keeper because you might touch it. So no, I unless you're telling me that the PGMOL have come out and said that it was an error, Michael Oliver got it wrong, and the rules clearly state that you're allowed to stand in front of the keeper in an offside position, mate, I don't get it. I don't see that as the case at all. I don't think that you are correct. You may well be, but I genuinely don't think that can be the case. But look, it sounds like you've done the research on this. I haven't. I appreciate that Van Dijk's goal was controversial, but Andy Robertson being stood offside and impeding Donnarumma's vision, ducking out of the way of the ball, it's going to have an impact, right? It almost doesn't matter whether he was going to save it or not. But also, can I just say something here, which you're not going to massively like, V. Aaron? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you think that Van Dijk goal was going to have any impact on the result, I guarantee you're wrong. You were absolutely overrun. You were absolutely battered. You were absolutely walloped. And Van Dijk scoring what would have been nothing more than a consolation goal, it really wouldn't matter. And let's face it, you were 2-0 down at half-time. That was a fair reflection of the game. You know, that is sort of how it was meant to go. So no, I don't think it was a turning point. I don't think it had a major impact on who was going to win the match. I don't think it had a major impact on where the 3 points were heading. But look, you and I may have to disagree with that. But yeah, look, I think overall, you can't stand in front of the keeper. Like, I just don't know why. I don't know why you're focusing on the referee. I don't know why you're focusing on anything to do with Michael Oliver. It's the second time that you've put a comment in where you've written out Michael Oliver's name. You're not right. You're not talking about Robertson. Forget Michael Oliver. Why is Robertson there? Does Robertson know the rules? Does Robertson take any responsibility? Virgil van Dijk has scored a perfectly good header. It's going to count. It's going to be an equaliser if Robertson gets out of the way. Why has Robertson stood there? That is what somebody needs to explain to me. He stood there because he switched off. He stood there because he had a lack of concentration. He stood there because he's been caught short. The responsibility lies with Robertson. I don't know why we're trying to insulate Andy Robertson from any criticism here. Ducking out the way of the ball has an impact on the ball in as much. Let me make this point. If the ball is moving in that direction and Andy Robertson is there, Andy Robertson ducking out the way and not moving the ball has an impact on where the ball is moving, because the keeper can't make a move for that corner until it has officially not touched Robertson, which is only 1 second before it hits the back of the net. So we know, because we can see it all in slow motion, we know that Donnarumma's nowhere near it. And the goal is obviously going to go in, and there is nothing that any keeper could do about it. There is nothing that Peter Schmeichel in his prime could do about it. So why don't Robertson know that? Get out of the way. Get out of the way. No, I think Liverpool fans talking about PGMOL and Michael Oliver, it's so blurring of the actual issue, which is Andy Robertson switching off. That should be your focus, mate. Brandon Schofield in the Super Chat says, I feel the Club World Cup will ruin City later on this season. I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to have that impact. I really don't. I really don't. Are you an Arsenal fan, Brandon? Because that feels like slight straw clutching to me. Abdullah Abu Hussein says, do City fall off if Haaland gets injured? I mean, maybe. But then, you know, he's their best player. If Declan Rice gets injured, what impact does that have on Arsenal? If Saliba gets injured, what impact does that have on Arsenal? You know, for City, you're going to put Marmoush in there. Marmoush can certainly score goals. Marmoush is certainly capable of hitting the back of the net. So, yeah, of course, losing a player like Erling Haaland will obviously be detrimental, but I don't think we can really talk like that, Abdullah. It's the same for every team in the league. You know, whatever player you take out of whatever team is going to have an impact. So it's as applicable to Man City as it is to Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool or West Ham or anyone else. Abdullah says, no injuries in the break is crucial for Arsenal to go for the Carabao and for the Premier League. For the first time, they'll have Gyökeres, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, Bukayo Saka, Madueke, Trossard, Martinelli, Eze, Odegaard, Rice, Zubimendi, and that mad defence. I just don't... Do you know, it's a weird one for me to argue this because it isn't really the way I feel. It isn't really the way that I feel about football. Football is always about silverware. It's always about glory. It's always about Wembley. It's always about making history. It's always about lifting trophies aloft. That is the beauty of the game. That is the pursuit of the game. That is why we're in it. We're chasing that buzz. But this is a very, very, very particular example where I just don't think it's true. There is one example that I can think of here. And I think that Arsenal just need to focus on a Premier League title charge. I really do. And obviously their European campaign. That goes without saying. But they don't need the distraction of either domestic cup. Nobody can win a treble. And do you remember when Liverpool were pursuing a treble? You know, they ended up feeling quite flat. A quadruple even, sorry. Timbo Slice says, Rory, have we got the next Hazard in Estaval? I mean, he's a wonder kid, isn't he? He's a superstar. Genuine superstar. Yeah, I mean, I love him. I think he should just be starting every single game. Really, really love him. Hugh in the Super Chat says, Liverpool are showing just how hard retaining the league is. Teams usually win titles when their squad is at their peak. Liverpool's top players are just past their peak. Shows how difficult Manchester City's 4 in a row was. Yeah, I kind of agree with a lot of what you said here. Do you know what a part of the problem is for Liverpool? Part of the problem is that so many of Liverpool's players are young. Like, you know, in terms of the superstars, in terms of the players that are meant to be carrying the team. Like, whatever you think of Darwin Núñez, however good you think he is, whatever you think of Luis Diaz, however good you think he is, they're both at their peak. They're both 28 years old or whatever it is. Whereas it's not like that for Liverpool. Now, they've let go of Luis Diaz, who's at his peak, Darwin Núñez at his peak, and they've brought in Ekitike, who's a kid, Florian Wirtz, who's a kid, and they put, you know, I think, look, Chelsea are a major exponent of this ridiculous policy. Get proper geezers in your team. Get 30-year-olds, man. Sign 30-year-olds. When Chelsea signed Mark Hughes, one of the best players we've ever had, genuinely one of the best players to ever play for Chelsea, signed him at 31. Michael Ballack signed him at 30. Thiago Silva signed him at 35. Like, bring in proven top players. So there is no doubt about it that that you need those big personalities around. And there isn't really one of those at Liverpool. You know, I was watching the game today with Adi Oladipo, and he was moaning. He was sort of talking, and he even brought up Jordan Henderson. He's like, we haven't got a presence. We haven't got like a Jordan Henderson. You know, somebody like a Declan Rice, somebody like a Moises Caicedo, somebody like even like a Joe Linton. Just a presence in the midfield. Liverpool have really good players, but they don't have that presence. And Adi even brought up Jordan Henderson. Not to say that he's good enough now, but that sort of person, you know. So that's where I see that one going. Interesting point there, Hugh. Jonathan Hadidin, yes sir, says, will I be at the Chelsea Arsenal? I'll be working it, mate. I'll be working it. So no, I won't be there, sadly, because we need to get something out of that game. Are you going, mate? Stian says, who are your top 3 Norwegian footballers of all time? Love the content, mate. Still, I got a Norwegian. That's not my Norwegian mate, is it? I know. I've got a Norwegian mate called Stian. Top 3 Norwegian footballers of all time. Obviously, Tore André Flo. Tore André Flo has to be in this list. There is no doubt about it that Tore André Flo is one of my favourite all-time Norwegian footballers. I'll then go Lars Bohinen. Lars Bohinen was a boy, Forest and that. He was a wicked player. And Morten Gamst Pedersen. Proper footballers. Love it. Going to go back into the Super Chat now. Timbo Slice. Thoughts on the Caicedo versus Rice debate? I think at what they do, they're both the best in the world. Overall, Moises Caicedo is the best 6 in the world. Declan Rice is in the league. Declan Rice is the best 8 in the league. Declan Rice would be a better 6 than Caicedo would be an 8. Therefore, overall, Rice is a better player. But for what we need him to do, Declan Rice, for what we need him to do, Moises Caicedo is the best player in the league. So I think everyone wins. We need a 6, they need an 8. We've got the best 6, they got the best 8. And their 8 is a little bit better than our 6 at being a 6, and than our 6 is at being an 8. So I see that 6-7. Abdullah in the Super Chat says, Liverpool's Premier League run until the Arsenal clash in January is very decent. I don't know if it's going to matter, mate. But we'll see. Look, if Liverpool can put a run together, then maybe. But Arsenal have an interesting run. Arsenal's next 3 fixtures are tough. So we'll see. And, I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, off the back of dropping points at the stadium and like, maybe you say, perfect fixture. Playing Tottenham to bounce back. That could well be the perfect move. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I love this. Really appreciate you finding the time. I love going live like this. If anyone is watching this and they haven't clicked subscribe, do me a favour. Please subscribe. It would be an honour to welcome you into this community. Have a lovely night. Ta-da.